Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to this session. I will ask people to introduce yourselves while other people are joining us. We'll wait for some time and we'll begin this. Please introduce yourselves on the question window. We have Kamal Mustafa. Welcome Kamal. Kamal is working as a data consultant for EMC Square. We have Sesha Chalam. Welcome. Vipul Modi, Muthu Kumar. Welcome Muthu Kumar. Muthu Kumar is working as a senior infrastructure engineer in Vizuri Interactive. We have Ajay. Welcome Ajay. Ajay is having 13.5 plus years of experience in analytics. Rahul. Welcome Rahul. We have Ramakrishna. As we are waiting, we are expecting more people to join in. We'll probably wait for some more time. We have one more Rahul, Rahul Prabhulingaswamy. Rahul is working as SSE in Stanley Black and Decker. Welcome, Rahul. Vanish Narayanan, sorry. So Vanish is Python enthusiast. Good to see that you started learning Python. Welcome, Vanish. Rekha Patil. Rekha is saying I'm not listening your voice. Probably Rekha, you can check your audio settings because I can see responses from other people. So probably I think people are able to hear me. We have Vikram Rajiv. Vikram is working in Applied Micro. Welcome, Vikram. We have Venkatesh Kulkarni. Venkatesh is MTech student at Manipal, MIT Manipal. He is intern at NAL Bangalore. Welcome, Venkatesh. Babu Venkatesh. He's working in. He's also working in Applied Micro. Welcome, Babu Venkatesh. Tasneem Haider. Welcome, Tasneem. Vikas S. Sudhiti Lahiri. So Tasneem is asking this. There is no video session. Tasneem, this is a webinar. You would probably not able to see my or other people's video, but yes, it's going to be walkthrough on the or an introductory session on Python, which we are going to conduct today. I'm the trainer for today, and you would be probably able to see the screen, which I am going to share in a while. We have Yan Wang, Anna. I welcome you. We have Joe joining us. Welcome, Joe. We would probably wait for another 2 minutes and then we would begin. We have a question coming from Tasneem Haider. What are the topics we are going to have today? Tasneem, we are going to discuss the basics of Python. That is, it is going to be an introductory session. All right, we are going to discuss the prospects of Python over other languages, its popularity, the installation, our first program. This would be the agenda for today, and probably a few more things. I hope this clarifies. We have another question coming from Suditi Lahiri. Suditi is asking, do we need any IDE or compiler ready to assist us through the session? You would probably not need it. It is not a mandatory thing for the first session which we have today. But if you already have installed, it is good. I'm going to demo it anyway. Another question from Venkatesh. Is this practical session and does this Python classes continue in future? This probably would be, I can say, a partial practical session. We would just run through our first program, since this is just going to be the first session or an introductory session. Yes, we are going to have, see, this is one session out of the 12 sessions we have. We are going to have 11 more sessions like this. I hope this clarifies, Venkatesh. You would be notified. When it will be, Venkatesh is asking when it will be. So Venkatesh, you will be notified for the future sessions, but you would have to register with No Big Data for further sessions. Okay, we have another question from Siva Kumar. Could you please let me know whether you will be sharing the PPTs after this session? Shiv Kumar, probably not the PPTs, but since I'm recording this session, so maybe you guys would be shared the video link for this session. Vikas S is asking, are these sessions interactive over voice? So Vikas, since we have a lot of attendees out here, and you know, if I turn the audio for all of the people on, uh, it is very messy and not clear. So yes, it is going to be interactive in the sense you ask questions, I clarify it like I'm doing now. But if there is a need, you want to have it on the voice, yes, it would be turned on in the future sessions. All right. Uh, Another question from Rahul AR. Do you explain the application of Python in this section? Yes, we are going to discuss the various scenarios, various platforms, various fields where Python is being used or can be used. Tasneem is asking, can you provide us a whole idea topic of all the 12 sessions? Tasneem, you can find all the details over nobigdata.com. So you can go over there and find the course content or the exact details of further sessions and contents, etc. All right, so let's get started. It's been So we will start. We have already 26 attendees. So hello and welcome again, everyone. This is going to be an introductory session on Python, as I said before. So we're going to discuss the basics on Python, and this is one session out of the 12 sessions we have at nobigdata.com. All right, so let me just put this back. Okay. All right. So let's begin with this session and about no big data. No big data is experting on big data training and big data technologies. So what are the qualities of no big data? We have expert instructors, cloud labs, which is proprietary 24/7 labs, which will be for which access will be given for all the enrolled people, lifetime access to the learning management system. The presentations, the data, the videos would be shared to the people, class recording, assignments and quizzes, project work. So projects would be real life projects. And you would get a course completion certificate. And yeah, 24/7 support. All right. Okay. This is a bit old slide. I am the instructor for today. My name is Anup Keshwani, and I worked with Samsung for 4 years. I was also associated with Nutanix for their cloud infrastructure, with Toshiba software, and I worked with a couple of startups also. I'm also associated with another learning and training company called Tech Boost. This is located in Bangalore, which is www.techboost.in. So and we have already addressed, I believe, the general questions from people. So let's begin with the agenda. So let's see, why do people use Python? So here we come. Software quality. Readability of Python code is very high. The code written in Python is much neater and cleaner than other languages because of the syntax it uses. Reusable, maintainable. Of course, it's not that it is the only reusable language, but it is also reusable like other languages. You have C++, Java, or other things. Maintainable. It is both object oriented and functional. So you can deal with the functional programming or procedural aspects of programming, and also you can create objects, classes, and deal with object oriented programming. So it provides you flexibility to code in both ways. All right, we come to the next, developer productivity. So how does this developer productivity come into picture? The productivity, I believe, increases when the developer is able to write code much faster, takes less time to code. All right. So what, in fact, the point here is that you see the code size is 1/3 to 1/5 of C++ or Java code. All right. It is dynamically typed language. What do you mean by a dynamically typed? Dynamic types, every data has a type. Agree? You might probably, people who have coded in C, C++ might remember something where you write int C or probably for float J. All right. So you basically declare the type of the data you're going to use in your program. That is, you're declaring that J is going to be float of the type float. But in Python, it's not that way. It identifies the type of the data at runtime, and that is why it is called dynamically typed language, which again helps or aids to the developer productivity, because developer doesn't have to care about the type of the data or declaring it and so on. So what does this mean? It means that code is shorter, cleaner, and without hassle. The developer does not have to think much on the syntax and other aspects. All right. So the third point, portability. So Python program or Python code runs on multiple platforms: Windows, Linux, and Mac. It is platform independent. Yes, it supports a lot of library. So there is a huge library base with Python. So let's see what all libraries you can use or utilize to do your tasks. See, the standard library or the built-in library base itself is very huge. Other than standard library or the inbuilt or built-in library base, we have third-party libraries also. So few of the tasks which you can do with the using the libraries are listed down here. Like text pattern matching, network scripting. So you have a socket module which does just an example. So there could be many modules, many built-in or third-party modules which you can use to do the same task, but I'll be naming a few. Third-party modules like website construction, numeric programming, serial port access, you have PySerial, math module for mathematic operations, and then scientific computing, NumPy, game development. All right, game development, you have Pygame, Piglet are the modules. Okay, and then let's go to the next one. We have component integrations. Yes, there are things where we can integrate. We can call C and C++ libraries. So Python is very well could be integrated with other languages code also. We're not going to discuss this as of now, but uh, as and when we go, we can see this further. And yes, it is enjoyment. Coding in Python is fun. Why it is fun? Because it is less of syntax oriented language. All right. So is it a scripting language? Yes, you can call it as a scripting language, but it is more of a general purpose language which have the all the aspects of your procedural, functional, and object oriented. It is just not to be treated as a scripting language or a testing script language or so. It is a full-fledged language. As we saw, we can use it for um, uh, I hope the audio is there. Is everybody able to hear me? All right. I thought it's disconnected. So you can use Python not only for just testing or automation or just writing some scripts. You can use it for writing applications, GUI, web programming, system programming, database, image processing, scientific computing, and there are many more like that. All right, so it's a general purpose language, not just to be treated as a scripting or a testing scripting language also. So yes, there are few downsides to it, and not much. I would not call it as a major drawback, but a few downsides. Like um, execution speed is lower than C or C++ code. So this is just a comparison. So why the execution speed is lower than C, C++? Because there is a compilation step coming in between on C, C++ or other languages which makes it faster. So source code to byte code and then execution. All right. So Python is a partial interpreted or uh, compiled language. It is not completely, I would say, interpreted language, because since there is also some compilation step, not always you have a compilation step, like the byte code is generated using the compilation. All right, but it is more of to be treated as a interpreted language, and as we say it is an interpreted language, the execution is on the go. There is not of a compilation step, and hence it becomes slower than C or C++. But we have PyPy to enhance the speed of Python code execution, all right, which can speed up the execution by 10 to 100 times. All right, so somebody here is asking what about the execution speed? Let me see. So Rahul is asking what about the execution speed of Java and Python? So I'm not sure. It is not. Maybe probably I have not noted this, or so this is the comparison. What we are seeing out here in the slide is comparison with C or C++. So and the second point which you can see is PyPy. So that again is not increasing the speed relative to C or C++. It is the execution speed comparison when you are running a standalone Python code and a Python code run using PyPy. All right, so I'm not sure of how much faster or slower it is with relative to Java. All right, so you can also link the compile extension for numeric. So as I said, this again comes into picture where we have uh, other things coming to picture when you have when you can integrate Python code with other languages. Okay, we have another question coming in. Um, how PyPy helps to execute the same code faster? Okay, so PyPy has something called just-in-time compiler. All right. So probably Java guys would know more about. We're not going to discuss in depth about just-in-time compiler. So that is what it increases the speed of Python code. I hope this answers. All right. Mm, let's proceed. So these are few of the names, few of the industry giants who are using Python: Google, Netflix, YouTube, Dropbox, Intel, Cisco, and there are many more. These are the links to few of the things. So you see out here, see this is the major source of or you can find all the resources about Python, all the queries you have, all the documentation you need, the downloads, latest updates, latest downloads, you can find at python.org. All right. So these are just few links for the references. So what can I do with Python? We discussed like we can do a lot of tasks with Python. It is not just to be treated as text scripting or something. We can do system programming. System programming, we have modules like OS, sys, shutil. For GUI programming, we have Kinter, PyGTK, PyGUI modules. As I said, right, we have a lot of libraries, or we can say the library base with Python is very huge. And this comes when we say that Python is what? Python is open source. So people contribute to it a lot, and that is when the library base increases. All right, we can do component integration, database programming. Database programming, you have DB APIs with Python, numeric scientific programming, gaming images. So there are a lot of things which would probably not be mentioned here, but these are the major things you can do, and you can explore on your interest area further. All right. So these are the few names who are supporting or the source of Python. So Python Software Foundation, PyCon is Python conference which happens around the world. Python enhancement proposal, probably you can find the guidelines and things like that at this place. So we have PEP guidelines. This is basically PEP, Python enhancement proposal. Okay, technical strengths. It is, as I said, it is both object oriented and functional. So you can use all the object oriented concepts over here: polymorphism, operator overloading, inheritance, right? You have generators, comprehensions, closures. So these are few of the aspects of functional or object oriented programming. Okay, it is open source, so you can copy, embed, and sell. So yeah, it doesn't mean that it is not supported. It supports really lot of things. So it is open source does not mean it does not support a lot of things. It really supports a lot of things. And yes, it is portable. You can run this on different platforms: Linux, Windows, Mac. You might have heard about Raspberry boards. Okay, this is again, it's a dynamically typed language, automatic memory management. You have auto garbage collection in this. You don't have to worry about allocating the memory and using it then. So the garbage or the unused memory is auto collected. All right, a lot of support for Python since it is open source, built-in object types, built-in tools, library utilities, third-party utilities. So what overall picture we get out of this is it is really powerful being open source. You can do a lot of stuff with this. Okay, very important thing. It is very easy to use and very easy to learn. All right. Why easy to learn? I would probably say with my experience, syntax, or you don't have to worry about things about the syntax or declaring memory management, and so on. So I feel that is the major technical strength which Python has given us. It is really fun coding in Python, believe me. All right, so this is the guy who founded, or not founded, who created Python, Guido van Rossum. It was released in 2000, and coincidentally, it was named after a TV series called Monty Python series. It was basically a TV series called Monty Python Circus. All right, so we discussed a few things where Python is used. So let's see. So here is a a guide to getting started with Eclipse. So somebody, I think, asked what all IDEs do I need an IDE to go on with this session? So really not, but maybe probably after this session you can install an IDE like Eclipse. So I will just list down few of my favorite, or I would say they're really great IDEs or editors you can use to code in Python. Uh, the one we are going to introduce is Eclipse. Uh, I would say Eclipse and PyCharm are the first priority. All right, they are really good. Uh, okay, the interruption is with a question here. We have a question from Venkatesh. I know Python IDE will come and we can work out. So can you ask this question with a bit more clarity? I did not get what you intend to ask with this. Okay, meanwhile, I will proceed with what I was telling, that what are the preferred IDEs. So as I said, Eclipse and PyCharm are the first priority. All right. The third one is idle, which comes along with Python installation. So probably there are many more, PyScripter and so on. All right, but we will basically focus on the best ones. And in my view, these are the best ones to use. People who are already using other IDs can continue to use that, since they might be adapted to it. And if I talk about the editors, there might be different views of different people. People can use what they like most. All right, so editors, I would say we have Notepad++ are the good editors. Of course, I would choose an IDE than an editor if I have a choice, because you can run, debug, write the code at the same place. And probably Eclipse and PyCharm are my best IDEs. All right, editors, Vim or VI or Notepad++. So this comes with, again, some plugins which will it's Python plugins which you can install, and this will help you to indent and write cleaner code. All right, Okay, another question from Ajay. Can we integrate with Excel? So I hope you're asking that can we do some Excel sheet tasks with Python, if I'm right? So yes, we can. If the question is that, yes, we can. We have XLRD, XLWT are the modules which you can use to work with Excel sheets. And there might be many more. All right. So yes, you can do Excel sheet tasks with Python. As I said, right, if you start exploring the um, libraries or the task which you want to accomplish using Python, you would probably find a library for it. All right. So yes, Venkatesh has clarified the question he asked. Actually, I installed Python IDE from its website, and my question is how it differs from Eclipse. All right. So you would have probably downloaded or installed Python from python.org, and you would have got idle along with that. So how different it is from Eclipse and PyCharm? So I would say, see, it is about look and feel and run, or how comfortable you are with the. Yes, of course, you can do the execution, the writing, and things at idle also. So it does not really is a much of a difference, but it's about how comfortable you are with that IDE, or how good it is, how good you feel with that. Okay, Ajay has another question here. Can we call our Excel or CSV files into Python and do little bit data exploration? Yes, you can do that. So I believe there is a library called Pandas to do data analysis. All right. So Ajay, you can explore more on this. You would really find these helpful. You can call your Excel sheet. In fact, open. See, what you would probably want to do with Excel sheets is get some data out of it. If you don't want to analyze it, maybe just want to read and create a report sort of stuff, you would really not need maybe some pandas or something. You can probably do that with XLRD or XLWT also. Okay, so let's really get into this, and you can um, install Eclipse. People who already have, not a problem. You can install from this link given here, Eclipse. All right, and then we need to what we are trying to see here is we are trying to see Python in Eclipse is not built in. You need to download a plugin, install a plugin for working on Python with Eclipse. Okay, we have another question from Muthukumar. Is those Excel modules will import data first and do the data manipulation and save it back in XLS format, or these libraries have functions to modify in place facility? Um, See, XLRD and XLWT are, as the name suggests, so I'll just go back, I was telling, right? So XLRD and XLWT, so one is for reading, another one is for writing. So probably you cannot do in place data manipulation. So one you would have to use for reading, another for writing. All right, thank you. So we were here, we probably installed Eclipse, and you would find the window like this. All right, what now we are trying to do is we are trying to install the plugin called PyDev. This plugin helps us to code in Python along with Eclipse. So we go to help and then install new software over here. So people who have this and who Eclipse and who really want to do this can parallelly open and try it out. All right, and then you need to type in here, you see add repository, and this is what you need to give the location. Like, see, this is what we are trying to install, which is PyDev. All right, then press OK, and here we are. We have this PyDev for Eclipse. All right, and then you press next. Accept the terms and restart Eclipse. So your PyDev plugin is installed with Eclipse. Okay, now we are good to go with creating a project. So how do we do that? Go to File, New and Project, and you need to select a PyDev project over here. All right, give your project a name like it is given here, test, and finish it. You see probably here they have mentioned the grammar version, or the, it is the Python version you have installed. All right, we have two major versions of Python running on, which is Python 2 and Python 3. So people still, I would say, are stick to this one, Python 2 2.x, and 3.x is newer one. And this is like people who are starting from scratch. Say you want to write or create a project, or you want to do work on a project which is from scratch. Probably you would like to use 3.x. 2.x is very old, and there are newer versions to it supporting, because most of the people, as I said, are using 2.x still. And since moving the code from one version to other uh, is little difficult, and that is what is the reason people have not moved their older code to 3. But people who are writing from scratch might prefer 3. All right. So now, since we were at creating a project, and we created a PyDev project. Now what we need to have is a file to write in our code. We go to new and create a file here. All right. Right click on the project, click on new, select the file, which is this, enter the file name. So let's see, it will be further, maybe you will have to enter a file name like hello.py, and all the Python file have extension of .py. Like your text files have extension of txt and so on. The Python files have extension of .py. Then you click on finish. Alright, so the step of writing, enter the file name is not visible over here, but this is what you have to do. When you select a file, give your file a file name and finish it. Alright, so here we are good to go with writing our first Python code. This is what you see as the file name which you have given. So this is an empty file open for you to writing the code, and this is a little piece of our first code which probably is coming all over the years. Hello world, it has become a standard probably, right? So what we have done is we have written this one line of code which does the following. It prints this particular string which is hello world inside double quotes. So whatever you see inside double quotes is called a string in Python. Also what you see in single quotes is also a string. In fact, what you see inside triple quotes is also a string. All right. So what we are trying to do here is we're trying to print this string on the console, and you can see down here when we try to run. So you save your file. You save your file with this particular line of code in your file, and then execute it. All right. When you want to execute it, you just run as Python run. And when you run it as Python run, you can see the output over here, which is where the console. This is the beauty of IDE. People prefer IDE over editors. You can see the output immediately on the console window at Eclipse. All right, so here is the output. We try to print a string to the console. All right, let's proceed. Okay, we discussed that Python is more of an interpreted language. The code is run on the go. Okay, and the link is mentioned over here. What is this link for? Python.org, as I said, is the master of all your Python resources. You can download the Python versions from this link. And once you have downloaded or installed Python, you would find something out here. If you're using Windows, so you can see this particular part over here. So you can see command line idle is what is I was referring to. An IDE comes along with, that is the Python GUI where you can program. Okay, so what we have done here is when you go to, let me just see if you guys can I can show you probably the interpreter window. Is everyone able to see this command line? Okay, that's great. So see, what I did was I just went to the command prompt, Windows command prompt, and typed in, I just typed in Python over here. All right, and what I got is these three triple forward arrows. All right, so what this is, you can see the snippet which is which you can see on the slide is the same as this, isn't it? These three triple forward arrows. This is your interpreter prompt, or this is also called interactive shell. Why it is called interactive shell? Because it is fast to test your code over here. So probably I would also show the thing mentioned over here is so we just saw how to write our hello world program in Eclipse. So what are the steps we followed? We try to create a Python project, that is PyDev project. create a new file. All right, let me go back to it. So we created a new file and we wrote this small piece of line which is print hello world. All right, and then we ran our code and we got the output on the console. The similar thing we will be running over here. Probably let me increase the font if I can. So it is max, I think. Okay, I hope it is visible to all. Okay, so I would just write the same thing over here, print hello world and hit enter. All right, so you see I got the output of the same program here. All right, and let's see what is the next thing. You can probably say I want the output for 3 plus 5 and you get the output. You can probably write a function also over here. So I would say, so don't go over the syntax of it since we have not discussed functions, but what I'm writing now is a function in Python. It is the way you define a function in Python. So you define a function. Let's say I'm defining a function square. All right, and I can probably call it, and you see, boom, your output is here. All right, so this is a little small pretty thing which helps you on getting your quick outputs. So if you have, so when do you use interpreter or interactive shell? When you want to test your little piece of code. And you see, when what if I close this window, if I close this window, my function and things are gone. I will probably not able to use them, right? You see here, so now what I get, I try to, as you saw previously, we defined a function square and we try to call it this way. But now I close the command prompt and I try to call the function. It's not there. I get a name error, square is not defined. All right, so what does this mean? We are not able to save the commands or the program which we wanted to execute. So we would probably not want to use this interactive shell when we want to run a large piece of code, and we would prefer writing the commands or your program into a file like we did using Eclipse over here. So all of your program written here gets saved to a file and you can reuse it whenever you want. You can execute it. All right. So here are the points. Why would I prefer running the interactive prompt? So it is very quick to test your little piece of code. We saw, right? So we try to run our small programs. Say for example, I am eager to know what all is there in a string object or a string. So I define a string. Say this is a hello string, and my string is hello string, hello world. All right, so I defined a string, and I would probably want to check what all operations I can do with this string. So I have two functions to check or to get details on how to use or what all we can do with strings or other data types also. So I would just see now what all I can do with this string or a string. All right, so I just did dir of hello string, and you see I get all the list of members and methods available with string objects. And let's say I want to use a particular method available in this string object. So I would, so right now what I did, I just used dir function. Now, if I want to get the usage of a particular method, I would use help. Help on, say my object is hello string, and I want to check, let's say which method, let's say I want to check the details on how or what does this find method does. So I would say hello string dot find, please give me the help on this, and here it is. All right, you get the help on this particular function, what it does. Let's just go through what this particular function of this string object does. So let's see this s dot find. This is the syntax of the function. This says return the lowest index in s. So s is the string we define. So this method will return the lowest index in s where substring sub is found. So sub is the first parameter to this function. All right, so we will, what this function does is it will try to find the substring which you give as first parameter, first argument, and it will return the lowest index in the string if your substring is found, such that sub is contained within s start to end. To mention here, this start and end parameters are optional. It is not mandatory to give. So what happens if you don't give the start and end? If you don't give start and end, it's going to search in the complete string rather than searching in a part of it. All right. If it does not, what happens if it does not find the pattern you are searching for? It returns -1. This function returns -1. So what I mean to explain here is that it is very explanatory. If you are stuck with a function usage, say you, obviously there are many functions with all the objects, and you won't remember all usage of all functions or all members what they do. So this is a very handy tool to figure out on the usage part or the availability part. On the availability part, you can use dir function. On the usage part, you can use the help function. All right, let me just, since I have given this, let me just demo it, what it returns on our string. So I will just say, what was the name of our string? Hello string. All right, this was the string we defined. And let's say I want to find the word war. WOR. So I would say uh, hello string dot find. I want to find out if var is there or not. All right. So you see here, this function returns me 6, and 6, as per the definition, is the lowest index in S where substring sub is found. So so let me just give you a thing here, indexing, about the indexing on strings. So our string is hello world. All right. The indexing in the string starts from 0. 0, 1, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and this space is 5, and this is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right. And what is the thing we try to find is WOR, and this function gave us the output 6, which is the lowest index where the substring is found. And as you can see, the index for W is 6. All right, I think this clarifies on the part of using the interpreter or interactive shell, or what is the efficiency of it, or where it is most useful for the quick testing, for quick trying things, learning, getting usage, getting help on it is very handy. That is where you would prefer using the interactive shell. And how do you run your interactive shell? Open the command prompt, type in Python, and you are here at the interactive shell. All right. Maybe if you are running Linux, you can type this at your shell Python, and you would go to the interactive shell. All right. And this is what we tried just now. We talked to Python, right? Because this shell is not the shell of the OS. This is the shell of Python. All right. And we are talking to Python. Okay, let's discuss the elements of Python. So what are the elements of, let's say if I talk about a language, what probably would be the elements? So the elements would be alphabets or characters, then the alphabets form words basically, and then words form sentences form paragraphs or a story. All right. Similarly, we have, since Python also is a language, we have the elements of it. So you have words, then they form sentences, then you have the stories. All right. So what are the words in this language? The words are the variables or the reserved words. Going forward in other sessions, we are going to discuss this all in detail about how you can define or declare a word, what form your sentences, how you see your story building up. All right. So what are the sentences? Valid syntax patterns. We'll see further how these sentences are formed out of these words. The story structure. So now constructing a program for a purpose. Why do you need a program? Program, of course, is a set of instructions, is the basic definition which everybody tells, but those set of instructions are defined by the programmer or the developer to do a particular task, correct? And the task is constructing a program for doing that task. For example, you want to probably make tea. right? And you would find the ingredients for it first, and then you will follow a set of rules, set of procedures to make tea, right? Otherwise you might end up making something else. All right, so you have to define a well-defined set of instructions to construct a program. All right, let's see here. We have the combination of, so what we have here is, this is the complete story we are talking about. All right, am I right? This is my program, and what this program does, this program is counting words in a file in Python. All right, so this is a short story. As we said, the variables and words, they form words. Then we have sentences. Sentences form story, right? So we have this complete story out here, right? And what this story is about, this story is about counting the number of words in the file, in a given file. And if the time persists, I will probably explain on this part how this program works. All right, for now, this is a story which is formed out of the basic elements of Python. All right, yeah, so let's see, these are the reserved words. What are reserved words? As the name suggests, these are the words which are reserved for use by Python, and we should not use all of these words for defining, say, our variable names or function names or classes or something, right? So we should really avoid using them, because these words are reserved for use by Python. All right, so what you should not do probably is, say, elif is equals to 5. This is what you should not do. This is elif is what? It's a variable you are defining. You are saying that this is my variable name, or this is the variable which holds what? 5, and boom, it is already it is supposed to be used by Python, and you should not use this as a variable name. All right, now let's see what are the sentences. All right, so here are few sentences. This is the first sentence. What this sentence is about? Assignment statement. All right, so what is 2 here? 2 is a constant. This is assignment operator. All right, and this is the variable. All right, so this is what we are talking about. We have variable, we have operator, we have constant, we have reserved word. These are the different sort of sentences which are formed out of words. Okay, this particular sentence talks about assigning a value which is a constant to the variable x. Assigning value to the variable x. Second one is assignment with expression. So the expression on the right hand side of the equals to is evaluated, and the resultant value is assigned to x. So this is called assignment with expression. The third one, as we saw, is similar to our print hello world, isn't it? All right, so, and print in fact is what? Print is a reserved keyword, isn't it? So these are few of the examples where you form different sort of sentences from the words. What are paragraphs? Paragraphs is this. Now you have a set of statements. These are what? Set of statements which are forming the story or the program you are trying to build. Alright? So we just saw the few elements, the basic elements of Python: words, sentences, and the story. And this is a story, these are the words, these are the sentences. Alright, now we see, and we also saw that how or when do you use the interactive shell. And what is the interactive shell? In fact, the triple forward arrows or the triple greater than signs is your interactive shell. We just saw when do you prefer using an interactive shell. Now let's see when do you prefer writing a script than writing your code or commands on the interactive shell. Alright, so interactive Python is good for experiments and programs of 3-4 lines long. As we discussed, for shorter programs or testing something or getting help, we would probably use interactive shell. Most programs are much longer, so we type them into a file and tell Python to run the commands in the file. So what we would usually want to write is a set of commands, not just a single command, a set of commands. Say I want to write a function. So I would probably define a function here, f, and write some body of it, and then say I have another, I define some other function, right? And I write some more script over here. So say this is the set of commands I would want to execute as part of my program execution. All right, so I would probably not prefer this doing in interactive shell, because I may have to type this again and again, since interactive shell does not remember your code. All right, after this session, of course it remembers for that session, for the next session it won't remember it, but this is what you would probably want, is writing a script rather than few commands on the interactive shell, and that is when we prefer writing a script. So, and also we saw that as a convention, we add .py as the suffix on the end of these files to indicate that they contain Python code. All right, so I have created this particular file here. I saved it using, let's say I save it using test.py. All right, so I have to save it using the py extension. All right, that tells that my code is going to be Python code. All right, so we have a question coming in. Let's address that. We have a question from Vanish Narayanan, and the question is, any good books on Python that you recommend? Okay, so there are many books available online and in the form of ebooks, and there are books which are available hard copy, as a hard copy. So my personal preference would be depending on the level you are at or you want to pursue, right? Say for example, if I would suggest a book on a beginner level, a very beginner level, so there is a book called A Bite of Python. All right, it is called A Bite of Python. All right, this is a very beginner level book. All right, and some of the attendee here is doing a course on Coursera, right? So you have courses available in, I don't know how efficient or good they are, but you have courses available online also. and you can choose a book based on your need. Like I said, at the beginner level, you have this book, A Bite of Python, and at the little advanced level, I would say you have another book called Dive into Python. This is a bit advanced level. All right. So, and there are many more. We are not going to discuss more on this, but to begin with, you can begin with A Bite of Python if you are doing a self-study, right? And you can then go to the Dive into Python, and there are resources available, and you can always, so your guide is always this. Do you agree? So this is your guide. So you can find everything out here in python.org. I hope this answers your question, Vanish. Okay, thank you. So let's proceed further. So anybody has doubt till now? Any questions? Okay, we shall proceed, and we can probably address the questions at the end. All right. So these are the differences. I think we have already gone through it. Let's quickly read it out. So interactive shell versus interactive prompt versus the script. You type directly to Python one line at a time and it responds. All right, so for the quick tests, quick things, you use interactive. The script, when you want to execute a sequence of statements, let's say a set of commands, not just a single or a few commands, you want to run a larger piece of code, a larger program, you probably want to write it as a text into a file and save it as a py file and then give it to Python to execute. In fact, let me just tell you how do you run the script. We just saw how do you run the script in Eclipse, right? We just saw how do you run your script at Eclipse, right? We created a file, we wrote something into it, and we could see the output at console. Am I right? All right. So, but internally what happens? How do you say, for example, if you're not using an IDE, rather if you're using a editor, and you do not run the code from here, correct? So you probably write print hello world. Uh, Let me just take right down here. Okay. So what you probably do is you create the file. This is my file hello.py, say. All right. And I write down here print just hello, let's say. All right. I save it at hello.py. And this is what is the operation I am performing on an editor. So I just wrote this piece of code in a file using an editor and I saved it in a drive. How do I execute it? Because IDE did it for me, right? Now let's see how do you do that. So you would want to save the file somewhere and then go to the command prompt. So you open the command prompt and like you say, for example, let's see. So like you typed in Python over here, you just typed in Python, right, at the command prompt, and you found something like this, which is the interactive shell, right? Now how do you run the script, or how do you give your script as an input to Python to run? So you say python Python space, there's a space, and you give your file name. and boom, it runs it. All right, so this is what this is how you run a script from the command prompt. All right, okay. Okay, let's see what this particular slide has to say. All right, so program steps or program flow. Like a recipe or installation instructions, a program is a sequence of steps to be done in order, as we said, right? So our, say we are trying to prepare a cup of tea, and a cup of tea, preparing a cup of tea also has a steps. Agree? We need to follow some steps to prepare a cup of tea, right? So what is a program? Again, the same thing. Like it's like a recipe or instructions or sequential, or some steps to follow to accomplish our recipe or prepare it. Some steps, now understand this. Some steps are conditional. Some steps are conditional. That is, they may be skipped, right? For example, in your tea, in your cup of tea, you somebody probably would not want tea with sugar. So you, while preparing tea, you would skip adding sugar. All right. So this becomes your conditional step. Sometimes a step or group of steps are to be repeated, right? For example, what does this mean? Like you added the tea leaves, right? You added the tea leaves, but at some point you find that the color has not come good, or the strength of you wanted is not good. You add more, isn't it? More. So this is a repetitive step until you are satisfied with the color. All right. So in your instruction set, in your program, there will be few things which are conditional. There will be few steps or statements which will be conditional. Few steps which will be repeated. All right. And there are few steps to be used over and over as needed. What does this sentence say? So what is this sentence talking about? There are few steps which are used over and over as needed at several places. So we are talking about the reusable code over here. Or you can say we are talking probably about functions or classes, which are the piece of code which can be used over and over again. All right. So those are the reusable set of statements. Okay, we have a question coming in from Venkatesh here. Let's address that. Can you please give me an example of conditional and can be repeated in Python code? So if I'm right, you're not mixing both. You're asking example for conditional and example for repeated, right? All right. So Venkatesh, we are going to see this in the following slides. Okay, we have another question from Samira. How is OOP in Python different from OOP in Java? So Samira, see, the concepts are going to remain same. It is just that how you apply in different languages. Like your concept of polymorphism or inheritance, is going to be same, but it is this the syntax or the application or how you apply here which is what varies, right? The concept is not going to change in any language, probably, I believe. All right. Okay, my question window is little, let me just expand it. Just a minute. And okay, yes. All right. So let's see. We will address that. Venkatesh, your questions will be addressed in the coming slides. All right. Okay. So here is the clarification for your queries. All right. So you see, we are now going to talk about sequential steps. So what are sequential steps? As we said, some steps are going to be straightforward, just to be executed line by line. There are no conditions to it. There are no repetitions to it. There is no reusability associated with it. So you can see the piece of code over here. All right. So what this code says, assign the value 2 to x, print it out. And here we are. It is printed. Now increment the value of x, which was before, by 2 and reassign it and print it out again. So we have got 4 now. All right. So now this is a sequential execution where this is executed, this is executed, this is executed, and finally this is executed. So there are no conditions applied to it. You see, there are no conditions applied to it. It just executes line by line. Right? What it says, when a program is running, it flows from one step to the next. Right? So as programmers, we need to set up paths for the program to follow. Now it is our responsibility to give a path to our program. All right. This is what we are talking about, the sequential steps. All right. Now let's see about conditional steps. As we discussed, conditional steps are something which can be skipped if required, right? So let's understand this piece of code over here. All right. So what this does, what we're trying to do is we're trying to assign value of 5 to x, and this is where our conditional statement comes into picture. This is a conditional statement, and what it is trying to do is it is trying to compare the value of x we have with 10. So if is the keyword, this is the keyword to write a condition. All right. So if we are trying to check if x is less than 10, so 5 is less than 10, right? And remember, every condition evaluates to either true or false. What is true or false? Yes or no. If it is yes or true, we are going to follow the statements which satisfy the condition. All right. So what satisfies the condition now? Yes, of course, our condition is satisfied. That is, 5 happens to be smaller than 10, and the following statements will be executed. So we can see the output on the console as smaller. All right. Now let's see next condition. We have another condition. Now the next condition is if x is greater than 20. Now let's see what is x now. X is 5. Is 5 greater than 20? So see, we are asking ourselves a question. Does this really satisfy? Is it really true? So as I said, the condition is going to evaluate to either of this, right? Either true or yes, or false or no. So this condition evaluates to false or no, and hence this print is not there. Agree? So based on our condition, this step is not executed. It is skipped. Correct? This step is skipped based on our condition. All right. Now we have reached the end of the program, which is unconditional. There is no conditional attached to it. All right. And this executes. All right. And there is a block diagram on the left hand side, which you can see the flow, explaining the flow pictorially, right? So x is 5, x is less than 10. If it is yes, it will go and print smaller. Come back here. We have another condition following. So it's going to check for the next condition. Now in our case, it did not satisfy. That is, it will not follow the yes path. It will rather follow the no path. And it will not print bigger, and finally it reached the end of the program and it will print finish, which we have it here. All right, so this is conditional execution. We saw, what did we see? We saw sequential steps. Now we are seeing conditional. Now let's see how repeated steps are done, how some steps are repeated. All right, now let's go through this particular program. Again, we have a variable called n, which is going to hold the value 5. While is again a keyword used to implement loops. All right, loops in the sense repetition. Repetition is nothing but looping. All right, so while loop works on a condition. So if this condition following the while keyword, we have this condition following the while keyword, which is n is greater than 0. This greater than is nothing but your comparison operator. We are comparing value of n to a value. So what is n right now? Here we have 5. Is 5 greater than 0? So again, as I said, condition is going to be evaluating to either true or false. Now at this case, this condition is going to be true. And if this is true, what while does is it keeps on repeating the steps following the while until the condition is true. All right. Now, right now it is true. It goes here, prints the value of n. What is the value of n here? Right now it is 5, and hence it is printed. Okay. So in this particular scenario, we have iteration variables. We have iteration variables to iterate over. Iterate over means loop over the statements. And right now the iteration variable here is n. Okay. So n is the iteration variable that will change each time. Okay. What happens if we do not change them? And by the way, where are we changing it? We are changing it here. See, we are reassigning n was 5, we are reassigning it, that is we are now changing it. We are changing, what we are changing? The value. So it was 5, now it becomes 5 minus 1, which is 4. So now n, which is 4, will be assigned. Now n will have the value 4. Now next time when it goes for repetition, next time when while comes here and we try to check the condition, it is 4. But still 4 is going to be greater than 0. So 4 is greater than 0, it evaluates to true and 4 is printed. Alright, and so on. It keeps on looping over, it keeps on looping over, it keeps on repeating these steps until this condition is evaluating to false. Alright, so what happens at the end when n is 1? It goes here and 1 minus 1 is 0, n is 0, and then this condition becomes false. Alright, so this iteration variable changes while running the loop. Alright, and this is again on the left hand side, you can see the pictorial representation of this repetition. Alright, okay, I hope this is clear. So we have discussed about the elements of a program. What are the elements of a program? The elements of the program are words, sentences, and then sentences form the story or the paragraph or the program, right? And then we saw the interactive shell and the scripts. How do you run commands on interactive shell? How do you run commands in a script, writing in a script and giving it to Python to execute it. And now we are seeing what are the various steps a program can have. It can have sequential steps, which is there in this slide. It can have conditional steps. So there might be programs which are just written based on sequential steps. So as we said, so as programmers, as you can see down here, as programmers, we need to set a path ourselves. So it is up to the programmer who is writing the program to set up the path. He can choose to write just the sequential steps. He might probably not write down the conditional or the repetitive steps, right? But this is how we just saw how do you execute the sequential steps, how do you write down the conditional steps, how do you write down the repeated steps. All right, now let's see how we put all the things together. Now this particular story which we saw in our previous slides, one of the slides which we did not discuss. Now let's see what this actually does and what are the how did we integrate the steps we discussed, that is sequential, repeated and conditional. So the color coding explains it, right? The steps in the yellow color are sequential steps. All right, so these steps are unconditional and they do not repeat. They will just execute in a sequential manner. All right, then we have in green color we have the repeated steps. These are the steps which will be repeated. All right, so this will be the repetition steps. And then we have in the violet color we have this. These are the conditional steps. This is a program showing how we have integrated three types of steps: sequential, repeated and conditional. Let me see if we can really go through this. Okay, we have a slide. Okay, though not on the exact usage of it. For example, what does this split do? What is this dict do? Right? But we'll try to understand what this piece of code does. Right? And you see on the green part again, the color coding explains it. Right? And the green part says uh, uh, a short Python story about how to count words in a file. Right. A word used to read data from user. Where is the word? The green one. You see, this is the word which will be used to read the data from user. The orange one, what does this say? A sentence about updating one of the many counts. So this is the sentence. This is the sentence which will be used to update the count at a given point. Right? This now in violet is a paragraph about how to find the largest item in a list. Now, since we have got the user input, this particular piece of code gets user input. And what is the input? What is our task? We are trying to find the count of words in a file. This piece of line, this line gets the file name. This line opens the file, reads the file. This line gets the words, in fact, okay, by splitting based on spaces. This gets the words, all the words, and we are trying to create a hash map kind of thing, which is called a dictionary in Python. We're trying to create an empty dictionary, and then we are trying to update the count of each word we have found in the file. And then at the end, once we have created the hash map or the dictionary, we are trying to see the highest count, highest word, the word which has the highest count, this particular piece of code. All right. So see how this is how we integrate uh, the steps and form a program. Well-defined steps, which are mix of all sorts of um, the steps we have seen: sequential, repeated, and conditional. Though we have not seen here another step we talked about, which is reusable, which will be done using functions or implementing a class or something like that. All right. Okay, so this was an introductory session on Python. And as we said, it is one of the sessions out of 12 sessions in this course. The further sessions details could be found at nobigdata.com, right? So we just focused on the bigger picture, right? Like how Python can be used on different areas, uh, writing a very small, basic program using an IDE or editor. What are the basic components of a program? Like what are the words, what are sentences, what are the paragraphs, sequential steps, repeated steps. All right, we also saw how do we write a script and how do we run the commands on interpreter prompt. All right, so this marks the end of today's session. I'm happy to uh, conclude this with the keynote that you guys are welcome to enroll for the further sessions at nobigdata.com. um, I was your instructor today. My name is Anup Keshwani. All right, and yes, we have another 5-10 minutes, so we can address questions now. So people who have questions can write on the questions window and I'll be addressing them. Probably, I would request if somebody is trying to um, ask questions over audio, I might not be able to hear them. So I request people to ask questions on the questions window where you guys have been introducing yourselves. So yeah, we have one question from Suditi Lahiri. The question is: Are there libraries for image handling? So I think yes, you have a library for image handling. I believe there is a library called Scikit Image, which can be used for image processing and stuff like that. I think this is like Scikit Image, if I'm right. All right, thank you. Okay, we have an interesting question coming from Samira. Samira is asking, question is a bit too complicated, but is Python used in big data? If so, how? So, yes, it is very, very much used in big data. On the how part, I would recommend you to go through an introductory session, which Sandeep, you might find it on the website, which Sandeep has recorded, probably on the big data, introductory session on big data. So he might have probably very well explained about how big data and Python are integrated. But to your answer, yes, it is very much used in big data. We have another question from Venkatesh. Venkatesh is asking, is future session addressed Python with respect to big data? So, yes, we will have probably two sessions, one or two sessions, which will be addressing uh, big data with Python, the aspects of using Python on big data. Okay, Venkatesh has another question. Can I find tutorial session for Orange tool for data mining using Python? So, Venkatesh, I'm not sure where you can find tutorials for the prospect you're looking for. So, you might have to Google probably. Okay, we have another 5 minutes, and if people have more questions, we can address them. I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, questions related to today's slides are also welcome. If you have any doubts on the slides we discussed, probably these since this session was an introductory session, we did not cover the in-depth details about what we discussed. The following sessions are going to talk about them. Uh, but in fact, if you guys have any clarification required on those slides we discussed, is most welcome. Okay, we have one more question coming from Samira. When would be the next big data webinar? Um, I'm not sure about the date as of now, but whenever it would be, will be notified to you if you are probably coming from a platform like Meetup or our social pages. All right, but you would for sure be notified if you are registered with us. We have a comment coming from Rahul. Session was really good. Thank you very much, Rahul, for your feedback. I appreciate it. We have a question from Yan Bank. If I don't have any questions for now, but later a question comes to me, can we ask you by email or some other ways? Yes, as we said, we provide support, so it will be given. So whatever queries you have, the support to them would be provided. We have another comment coming from Sivakumar. Thank you very much for the informative session. Uh, Thank you, Sivakumar, for your feedback. And I think if we don't have any further questions, so I thank all of you for coming and attending this webinar. And I hope you might have enjoyed it. With this note, I sign off. Thank you very much and have a good day.